Sydney Sweeney sheds her typical hot girl persona to become the groundbreaking boxer Christy Martin in Christy. It's a gritty story based on true events, but can Sweeney deliver a knockout performance? Raised as a coal miner's daughter, Christy Martin never dared to dream of a future that would uproot her from the confines of her small West Virginia town. That is, until she realized she had a knack for knocking people out. Fueled by an innate fighting spirit, a desire to wrestle away from societal expectations, and an unshakable quest to win, Christy Martin charged fist first into the combative and competitive world of professional boxing. In addition to Sweeney, this stars Ben Foster, Merritt Wever, Ethan Embry, and Jess Gabor. And as I said right at the beginning, this isn't the typical appearance of the actress that we get with Sweeney. Here, she's got an unwieldy perm, wears baggy clothes, and even when she dresses up for something special, she looks like a prom date from the mid-'80s with mile-high aqua-netted hair and a sequined gown. Now, from a visual perspective, this does help to create a more realistic version of an aspiring professional boxer. And when she tosses in an overly affected southern drawl, she does transform from bombshell to bruiser. I appreciated what Sweeney creates for her character. She's very rough around the edges, but not someone who's unlikable or abrasive in a rude way. She's strong, opinionated, motivated, and determined, and she quickly becomes a sympathetic character through her interactions that we see her have with both her mom and then eventual trainer. Now, Ben Foster is brilliantly grotesque in this. He is the dirtbag's dirtbag. As Christy's trainer and then eventual husband, he is a condescending and verbally abusive POS. I mean, if I were in Ireland, I'd call him a right C-word. Here, though, Foster transforms into this terrible person in very convincing ways. He's not even someone you'd give a slight pass to because they were such a talented athlete and now are just horrible because that's how they motivate. He's a never was, which then makes him just a tiny, angry, and miserable little man. But even as acerbic as he is, the film still contains a character who's even more atrocious. Merritt Wever is Christy's mom, and this lady's pretty much the devil. She can't ever say anything nice or complimentary to her daughter, creating this toxic dynamic that's wrapped up in perverted religiosity and then guilt trips. Wever builds such a convincing villain that she would create a negative visceral reaction anytime that she appeared on screen. I mean, kudos to her for delivering a presence that kind of rivals Umbridge. So this drama, while it does focus a ton on Christy's journey from amateur to absolute success, it delivers a thin and cursory overview of the iconic boxer. The movie's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the time it is most certainly felt. What hinders the narrative most is that it's told in chunks with large voids of years in between. We jump through time, and while we do get to see Christy endure a lot of abuse and tragic encounters, I walked away from this feeling as though I barely knew the person. I understand the context of her accomplishments and her struggles, but the story chooses to launch us into the ring with not a ton of character building during the rest. And I understand that the story is attempting to tell a comprehensive tale that spans more than a decade, so it's already an uphill struggle. But what ends up happening is that nothing is examined in detail, opting instead for glimpses and scenes of a life, but one that doesn't provide the aspects that make for a complete experience. And when we watch Sweeney in the ring, she's awesome. I mean, she isn't like regular boxers. She fights like she's got some sort of grudge against the world. And based on what we do get to see of her life, she should have one. Now, the pummeling that she gives others, it's fierce, brutal, and then full of rage. Sweeney gives Christy this wonderful presence. I just wish we got to see more of her inner workings that help to inform her decision-making. And even Christy's sexuality is only briefly shown in this excessive runtime. And the topic of who she loves or dates, that's not what I'm focusing on. But within the context of the film, it's a vague topic of discussion, or at least strife that she endures. And the sentiments Christy faced from pivotal people in her life, they're evident, but this deserved more attention to better showcase all the ways this forced guilt hung over her and what it did to her psyche and then contribute to her motivations. From a 30,000-foot level, we know it was heartbreaking and emotionally traumatic. But because the film is discussing a real person, Christy's story merits a more thorough focus to give greater credit to who she is and what she went through. Now, the movie's shot well, and it showcases both the grittiness and the violent reality of the ring, as well as the harrowing life the boxer experienced. Fight choreography and clever camera work just place us right in the middle of the battles, allowing us to see the impassioned intensity of Christy's punches, as well as the ferocity that lived behind her eyes. The acting is excellent as well, with each performance building characters who elicit visceral responses. The largest shortcoming of the lengthy storytelling is the thin examination of her life, choosing to provide snippets and glimpses at random times throughout her career in the hopes that the final offering to the audience will cause us to believe this is exhaustive and complete. And while this isn't a poorly made film, it's not one that I'd spend the cash to see in theaters. I'm not sure I'd even recommend shelling out for this on VOD. Instead, wait for streaming, where the time spent watching won't feel as costly. There's a little sex, no nudity, a ton of profanity, and then a bunch of violence, including domestic abuse and assault. I give Christy 3 out of 5 couches. And as I said, the movie's not terrible, especially with the acting and the cinematography, but the rest, it's just kind of a whole lot of nothing. Anyway, do you enjoy boxing movies? What's a favorite of yours? Now, for me, even though it's not technically boxing, Warrior is just phenomenal if you haven't seen it. Let me know some of your picks, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.